Hello and welcome to Two Nursery Managers Talking. I'm Glenn.
And I'm Sarah.
And we're both managers in the PVI sector.
And this week we are going to talk about well-being.
It's a very broad subject, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Especially in a nursery.
Yes, I think it's possibly something that we think about more than you might do in an office, although always considering well-being is important in whatever sector you're in. But
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's different challenges. And for us, we've got different levels of challenges, I think, because we're not just dealing with our own personal well-being like you would in an office. Yeah, it's dealing with your well-being. But we're dealing with children and children that can't always vocalise how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's, it's dealing with all these emotions and it's quite hard work.
Well, yeah, so if a child's well-being is struggling, that has quite a deep effect on you.
Yeah.
So, dealing with a computer is very different to dealing with toddlers, babies. The emotional burden that you might feel in that situation, dealing with small children, does weigh on you. And it can, if the pet families are having a struggle, what the impact of their well-being, it can lead back to how your day goes as well, can't it?
Yeah, it can. I mean, there is that bit, like I kind of mentioned it briefly there, is that if a child is struggling with those, and like the whole sort of array of emotions that a child can experience and they don't know and they don't understand yet. And we have a responsibility to kind of help them understand and deal with those emotions in a way that's appropriate. But whilst you're showing them and kind of teaching them that, having these feelings is okay and how you can best deal with them, it's stressful to begin with. So, I mean, I think you'll have been in the same situation as me where you've got a child that's throwing an absolute beauty of a tantrum, and they're screaming and they're shouting and there's crying, there's tears, snot, everything. And you're like, oh my God, you're thinking this and it's so stressful. You're like, you want to help this child, but you can't get in there to help them because they're just in their world of emotion.
And that can be something that's really daunting for someone who's new to childcare, especially if you've joined it as a play worker and you don't have the qualifications and you've not done any of the sort of co-regulation or anything else that you might have come across doing an early years educator qualification. So to have that noise and to just, what do I do? What do I do? Oh my goodness. To actually understand that child is not dealing with their emotions and they're not angry with you. They're not wanting to cause trouble. They're definitely not naughty.
No. The N-word.
No. But just to have the ability to take a breath and go, they are going to get through this, and all I need to do is be there for them. I can't need to rush around and, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Why don't you try this? That's not going to help.
It's adding more to the confusion.
And you're adding to your own panic
stress
as well.
Yeah.
So if you can just be calm, sit with them, maybe take them somewhere where it's quieter, a little bit of peace and quiet, everything will pass. But to know that in yourself and to protect your own well-being in that moment it takes practice, because it absolutely can. If you've had two children suddenly kicking off each other,
where do you go?
Your head is spinning. And in a lot of earlier stuff, they do 10-hour days. If you've had a day where several children have all got, a bit under the weather or they're teething, or you can have a day where you don't know which way is up sometimes.
I was just going to say, it's like you literally get to the end of the day and just go, what just happened?
Yeah.
And it's okay. I think that's the other bit that you need to understand. It's okay to feel like that. That not every day is just going to be absolutely beautiful. There are going to be days when, I don't know, there was a full moon last night and every child's turned into a werewolf. It can happen, and it's okay to accept that, and it's just okay to take deep breaths and go, do you know what? It wasn't a great day, but I did my best.
Yeah. But then as a manager, you need to set the tone to let staff say that and to have a staff room, which I'm lucky we have a staff room, and it's comfortable and it's been made to look beautiful. I've got a colleague who's brilliant at making things lovely, and you go in and you just feel, And to be able to go to a place like that, and to, as a manager, to say, do you want 10 minutes? Go and have a cup of tea. I'll step into the room for a little while. Just go and have a bit of space. Yeah. It's really important to be able to do that as a manager, to support staff, to say it's okay to not be able to manage sometimes because it can be very challenging, and to support them to understand how to see through it, know it will come to an end, and know what to do, not the blind panic of, oh my goodness, this child is absolutely out of control.
Kicking off. What do I do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that bit for me as well. I say this jokingly. I've been in this for 100 years, but even for me, it's learning. I think for me, it's learning what was going on in a child's brain that really helped me to understand. It's like, that's why you're doing that. Yeah. And it's that moment you go, oh, okay, I just need to let you do that. And then when you're calm, I'm here for you. Yeah. And just, it's okay to just sit down beside them. You're doing something, you're being there. Yeah. And that's okay.
My sort of eureka moment was coming from my speech and language training. And child does not understand the word frustrated. They don't understand the word annoying. Whatever as an adult, you can say, I'm finding this difficult because, and you can verbalise and rationalise, and you can self-soothe using all the words you've learned.
Yeah.
As a 2-year-old, you've barely learned any words. You don't have the internal vocabulary to talk yourself through it. Yeah. You just find things overwhelming, difficult, and things get worse and worse and worse. And then you just can't cope with and do with anything. And at that point, your language level, there's no adult in the world who's going to be able to explain all the words are not going to work. You just have to let them.
They've got to work through it in their own way. Through,
and then you can start, once they're calm, their language level goes back to their age appropriate language level once they're calm. When they're in that moment of almost lizard brain.
Yes.
Prehistoric panic. No language is useful. It's just presence from an adult.
It's like fight or flight collides. Yeah. And they don't know which way is up.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking of as well, whilst we were talking there, was, our job is stressful when we're actually there on the floor. But also, there's times when, although we try not to do it, there's times when our stress from home, whatever's going on, we can bring it in with us. Yeah. Again, is how do we deal with that when we're here? I
think that's also the role of a manager and the leadership team, to spot that someone's come in and they're not okay. Yeah. And for someone to go and have a word with them, the room leader, to say, look, so-and-so's not having a good time of it. That collective support network is really important, and to set that tone as a manager. And what can we do? How just sitting and talking about it is sometimes enough. Yeah. Giving them right, okay, well, why don't you go and be in charge of washing up? Go and do tea. Have a bit of time to yourself, if that's going to help you. Yeah. Whatever it is, you need to be able to be flexible if they're having a time where they need a bit more time and space. But the other thing I always say to colleagues is that it's a safe space here, that people might need to share things, and that should be treated as a safe space and confidentiality in the same way that we would treat child's personal circumstances as confidentiality.
I think that's a bit as well, is making it clear. I know I've gone into a setting as a manager and they've never had that before, where it's okay to come in and talk to me. I don't say I've got all the answers, but I'm there to listen. Yeah. And once the team got to know that, they knew my office door, unless it was actually closed, my office door was always open, unless they knew I was at a meeting or whatever. Yeah. But they could come and see me. Yeah. And I think that was so important, that they felt able to do that. I mean, I had some staff members that she came in one day and you could tell just one look at her face. And this is, again, knowing your staff as well, isn't it? I mean, it's all about knowing the children for all of us, but it's also about knowing your staff. Yeah. And there was a look about her and I went, are you okay? And she went, no. I said, let's go and grab a cup of tea and go and sit in the office. Everything's fine out there. Come on, let's go. And we did. And we just sat and we talked. And she did actually turn around to me like a couple of months later and say, nobody's ever sat and listened to us here. And it's like, that just felt like a failure on the part of management. And it's like, I'm glad I was able to do that.
Yeah. Because
then they felt listened to, they felt appreciated, and they felt more confident that, you know, they were valued and as
not
persons.
Alone.
Yes.
Not dealing with things alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we all do it, and we all say, gosh, that child today, that was difficult. And I found that difficult. I'm worrying about this. To be able to share that and say to everybody else, it's not plain sailing for me. Well, you know, I found them really difficult, but then this happened and I thought about this. Those conversations are really important across the rooms and between room leaders and managers. Yeah,
they are. I mean, I don't know why something has come back to me in my mind. I mean, you know the way my mind works. It just goes off like fireworks. But way back when I was doing my training back in the 90s, one setting I was on placement at, it was an amazing child and family centre. Absolutely brilliant. And I mean, back in the 90s, we didn't really talk about well-being or mental health.
No.
But actually, that was at the forefront of what they did. So for me, that was
revolutionary.
Like, yeah. But I didn't think about it at the time. I just felt like, oh, everyone's really nice here. This is lovely. There's me being a very naive student. But now you think about it, it's like, actually, I mean, what we did on a Friday afternoon, the children all went at a certain time. So it closed early to the children on a Friday, but we stayed for another hour or so afterwards. And we had what they called, sounds vile, but it was a dumping session.
Lovely.
So all the stress that you'd gone through in the week, it was talked about in front of everyone, and you just dumped that.
Oh, that's fabulous.
But it wasn't just the negativity part. You could also dump the positives and say, well, look, this happened to me this week. It was really good.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the two sides of the well-being. There was really positive well-being, but all the negative stuff, it got left behind.
I always ask
Friday
that in a supervision. What have you done this week that's been really great? Whatever it is. Tell me one thing that's just been great. As well as how are you? How was, that thing that we talked about last time going? But that's lovely to do.
It's funny you say that. I've just been doing supervision. So it's like one of my first questions is, how are you?
Yeah.
And it's not a glib question. It's not just done as a token thing. It is genuinely asking, how are you?
But if that's threaded through everything, through the whole setting, it makes all the difference. Yeah. I had a teaching job and ended up leaving because I needed part-time work, had a baby. Classic family-friendly flexibility discussion. And I got another job and I agreed to do 2 days a week, and the head teacher said, can you do 3 days a week? And I said, oh, actually, I've only got a 1-year-old, not really. And she said, oh, that's okay, that's fine. And I sort of went, hey, really? And that's okay? She said, of course it is. Happy staff, happy school. And I nearly cried.
Yes.
And the whole time I was at that school, that's exactly how it felt. She was just constantly caring and considerate of everything, which was just fabulous.
You're like, wow.
Yeah.
But that's how it should be. And I think that's, we take on board that, now that we've kind of worked our way through and we've become managers in settings and we're kind of, that senior leadership role. It's those bits that you remember, you go, that was really positive. That was a really good idea. I'm just going to harvest that and keep it. Yeah. And we do. We just kind of harvest these away. But they're not just frivolous ideas. They're there and they've got a purpose.
If it's impacted on your well-being, you want it to impact on others' well-being, don't you? Yeah.
I mean, there is that thing, like I said before as well. There is the two sides of it. There's the positive well-being and then there's the negative well-being. And like it is, I think it's important, like, yes, we need to talk about when something's really stressing us or whatever, because it is a stressful job. We're looking after very small people. We're looking after somebody else's precious small human. Yeah. And it's a high pressure job. And I don't think, unless you work in it, people don't always get it. that it is stressful. But equally, there's so many wonderful, wonderful things that we love to share. I mean, you know, you'll have seen it, and I've seen it when we're doing handovers to parents, and you're like, do you know what happened today? This was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And you love it. And you just put that smile on another parent's face, and you're like, you know, and then you go away smiling about it. And,
or you're able to send them a photo of whatever it is. Or then sometimes they send a photo back of them doing the same thing with their child. And that level of positivity is just fabulous, isn't it?
I mean, it was literally like today, one of our parents came in, and she's a dance teacher. So we were doing dancing with the children, and one of the other team videoed it and sent it to various parents on our app. And one of the parents came in to pick up at the end of the day, and she's like, I love that video. You're like, yes.
Yeah. But, and it's sharing all the good stuff is really important. We have the parents come in every 8-10 weeks or so. And this is what's been great, is really important part of it. Yes, we might be worried about their physical development or their language development or something, but it's always really important to say, this has been fabulous. These are the things that we've really enjoyed. And we always ask the parents as well, what's been going on in their lives, what's been great. Send us some photos of whatever it is. Yeah,
it is. It's about showing those positive aspects, because I think as adults, it's too easy to dwell on the negative side of things, because I don't know, sometimes we remember that more. I don't know. It just seems to come to, it's like, because it draws such a big feeling. But equally, we've got to remember that there's good stuff out there. There's positive stuff.
But then it's also important, you know, part of our role is to be there for the parents. And if they're having a really difficult time, if the 2-year-old tantrums or the 3-nagers or whatever it is hitting,
I love that phrase,
and it's difficult, they need to be someone's there, someone's been there before and survived, and there are still good things happening on a daily basis, and things will change, and they will have joyous moments more regularly than the tantrum moments. You know, but don't forget this bit, and I want to tell you all the good things that have happened today, because I know you've had a rubbish day the day before, but we're getting there.
But this happened, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's definitely that bit, and I think it is important to share the positives. I mean, it's going back to that dumping session I had when I was a student on placement, and it was a good time to share the positives as well as the negatives. Like the negatives, you just get them out. But yeah, it's good to share that positive. And like, do you know what happened today? You know, so and so took their first steps today. I mean, even now, like a baby taking their first steps. Oh my word, it is the best feeling ever. I mean, even like I don't know, there's just so much that is good about the job. I mean, it must be because I'm still here, still doing it. But it's important that, you know, when you're managing a team, to have that balance, that if you're having a rubbish day, that's okay. Talk about it. You know, share that frustration. Do you need some time out or whatever? But then equally, share that really good experience. Let everyone know. It's like, have you seen what happened to so-and-so today? It was so good. You know, it's getting that right balance of the vibe within the place. I think that's important.
So as a manager, you're supporting your staff, and you're setting the tone for their well-being, and you're supporting the staff to support the children's well-being, and you're supporting the staff to support the parents' well-being. How are you, as the manager, looking after your well-being?
Good question. So, in one of my settings, if I was feeling a bit stressed about something, I would, even though I said I had the open door policy in my office, occasionally I would just close the door, and I just needed a moment of peace and quiet, just away from the children, away from the staff, and just take that moment to do something, even if it was just doom scrolling on my phone, or just doing something that wasn't work related, just doing that. Or I would pop across to the shop and get myself my favourite chocolate bar. It was just silly little things like that, but it meant something to me. Or equally, I had a colleague that it'd be like, I could phone her up and say, whatever it was, and she'd be like, okay. So it was having that contact point of maybe somebody else, not necessarily taking it home, but if there's somebody else you can talk to, where if you're feeling that frustration, just go rah. Or equally, if it's something so positive like, oh my goodness, you should see what the team did today. This is just brilliant, above and beyond. Share that. Share that news, because that pride will help you to not necessarily forget about the negative aspects, but it'll certainly push it away for a bit.
I think I'm very good at sharing the rah moments, but when it's something almost sad, or that level of I've been supporting somebody and it's been really hard. It's not frustrating. It's just heavy.
Yeah,
that's something that is difficult, and I think you have to be really careful to not take it on yourself too much.
Yeah, and also, who do you talk to about? Because then you're breaking a confidence of that staff member who's then been brave enough to talk to you. But I think you're right. It's like, I mean, they say things like journaling and that, even just writing it down somewhere, or it's one of the. I've seen it somewhere where all these kind of things that were negative or something, or like you say, you'd been listening to somebody that had had a really heavy kind of problem, something was difficult for them, even just writing it down and then sticking it through a shredder.
Oh, really?
Yep, I've heard of that one. I haven't actually tried it, but...
What about writing it down, leaving it and then going for a run?
That could also work. I mean, there is that... I mean, as well, we had the running group going.
Yes.
And that was such... Like, we all bounced out of there at the end of it.
It was the camaraderie as well as we actually got to 5K. Oh, yes. The achievement.
It was good. I know. Took you on your first part run. But it was, I mean, little things like that. It was like, doing couch to 5K together.
Yeah.
And, those little things that, I mean, from a manager's perspective, it doesn't cost anything.
Yes.
Which is always a bonus.
Yes.
It's not that you don't value your staff enough to spend a bit of money, but it means you can use that money somewhere else for them.
Being so tight.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah.
I mean, if we could, we would have treats galore, and everyone could go for a massage every week, and that would be lovely. But
so where's this nursery? But I know it is little things like that, or even just like meeting up for a night out together. I mean, done things like that, and it's so nice. Yeah. Just just being able to do that, it is lovely.
It's really
and
important.
It just builds that positive support network as well, which is also important within, because you do, I mean, they say, you spend more of your working life with people than you do with your own family sometimes. And it is really important that there is a solid support network in the setting.
Because the other thing is that you can have such a busy day, be on the go, doing all sorts for 10 hours, and then go home to your family who have things to tell you and have done other things in their day, and you literally
just want to collapse in a corner.
Give me some time, please.
Can I have half an hour?
Which can weigh on you again, that you want to be there for them, but at the same time, your job has taken
it's a conflict,
a lot out of you that day.
It is a bit of a conflict.
Yeah.
You kind of like that work-life balance as well, and that's important. And I think, I mean, that leads me on to something else as well, like the work-life balance, where I have left a job because the work-life balance went the wrong way. It was turning into all work and no life.
You've got to be actively thoughtful to make sure that you protect that, because otherwise, if you've got emails on your phone and you're doing things at the weekend, it can so easily slide into too much.
Yeah.
And you need to be very conscious of that.
Yeah. I mean, for a fact I did. I mean, you've done it as well. I'm throw you under that bus there. You've done it as well, and so have I. We've both done it where... And it does impact on your mental well-being as a manager, that you've constantly got and your emails are pinging, and it's not even your own emails, it's work emails, and you're like, maybe I'll just quietly answer that.
Yeah.
No,
I don't have emails on my phone.
I'm the same. I refuse to do it. I've done it once, but only because I needed to access an email in order to get something, and I couldn't, so I had to actually, I had to message, one of the team, say, what's my password for my email? It's on my work laptop. I don't know my password without looking in the password list, which
That's
is also
good.
on. Yeah, so I had to do that in order to get in there. But I won't do it now because my mental well-being is so much better for it.
Yeah.
Because my work-life balance is in the right balance now.
Yeah.
Because I finish work. That's it.
Yeah. And that's something that I always tell my staff as well.
Mm-hmm.
That some of them want, can I do this course at home?
No.
Do it on your work time. Can I go and do this? No. Go home and don't work. Because 10 hours a day, you have to not work when you get home. You need to be able to switch off entirely.
Yeah.
And it's crucial. Otherwise, you won't have the get up and go to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that so much that working 5 days a week. I mean, for me, I like doing the 4 days full time and 1 day off. It works better for me and my well-being. I mean, I know you do 5 days, but you do.
I have early starts and
early finishes and So you do it in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
And for me, that works. But I've done another job where I was literally almost there full time, like the whole day, every day. I had 2 days off. But part of that, I was still doing stuff for work because, we needed to get this, that, and the other. And I wasn't getting time during the day to go and get it. And it's like, no, not doing that. And that's why that role wasn't right for me. So taking control of my well-being was important. So
and it's especially difficult if you've had a couple of working in COVID times when you had staff isolating and all of the tail chasing that you did to make sure that everything was covered and everyone was okay and there was the right ratios in rooms, and then you go,
bubbles.
Oh, but then I have to do my job as well. Where's the time in the day for that?
No, I'll take that home. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's no more of that.
No,
Really
it is definitely. It's like when you lock the nursery door at the end of the day, that's the end of your nursery day.
Yeah.
And that is so important. And like you say, that comes from the top almost. If you're doing that and being seen to do that, the team will do that. And then everyone has that rest and recuperation, which is so important. If you're not properly rested, how are you going to come into work the next day and do it all again?
Yeah.
You won't. You will just crumble. And it's so easy to do that, But
we then pass that on to our families as well.
Yeah.
And say, you're welcome to sit, have a cup of tea. We have stay and plays, but in those stay and plays, we also have tea and sofa time for parents that take time. And children, coming back to right at the beginning where we were talking about the child who's absolutely tantruming to epic proportions, take some time. Especially if they're at the stage where they're not really having naps in the middle of the day, but they might still need half an hour of downtime, just sit quietly, read a story, quiet downtime, calming time is important for everybody, whether you're two or...
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been like the 2-year-old room. I still love that age group, but it's that roller coaster time of emotions because they're not quite big, but they're not quite little, and they're very in between. And it's like they're coming out of their naps, and there's so much happening, and it can be stressful. I mean, I think you have to be that right kind of mentality for that room. But again, it's that bit as well. Like, and parents, like especially new parents, you're like, all of a sudden, bam, they're hit with a 2-year-old. Yeah. You're like, whoa, what is this? Yeah. Like, what? Yeah. What happened? And you're like, it is taking that time with parents, that tea and sofa time, like you say. So this is okay, this is normal. Yeah. And this is what you could do.
Yeah. And it's such simple strategies, signposting transitions first, then. It's such a simple thing. Just say to them, first put your coat on, then we'll go to the park.
Yeah.
And they know what's going to happen, that you're measuring their expectations, so they're not panicked and they don't wig out because they don't understand what's going on, or they want to go to the park but they haven't thought through the whole coat and shoes part first. And to give parents a tool like that, it's a very simple tool, but maybe their first child they haven't thought of whatever it is. To them, the number of times they've gone, oh yeah, and you can just feel
Mm-hmm.
They've got a little bit of power. They've got some tools in their strategies, and they feel like they're less likely to be out of control next time it goes wrong, because now they can
You're
see
just giving them that little golden nugget of knowledge that will have a positive impact on their well-being, because they're like, okay, I know how to handle that now. Okay. There is so much about it. Like, well-being is such a massive factor for life in general, because, I mean, we live in a whole different generation now. Everything's internet connected, and there's so much going on that actually sometimes we just need that face-to-face interaction with somebody in order to, you can't tell Siri how you're feeling, but you can tell somebody else, like, I've had an absolute rubbish day. But
and to read that person's body language as well is never going to be the same as if you're having a Teams meeting. Yeah.
You can't tell how somebody is feeling on a screen.
No.
But, like I was saying earlier about some members of my team, and I could tell straight away something wasn't right, because, again, it was that body language. You're like, it's not right. You're not right. Come and talk to me. Yeah. My goodness. I think time has caught up with us. But that was a really, really useful conversation. Sarah, thank you.
Well, thank you too.